All right, it is the final and fourth video of the ceramic analysis lecture introducing you to Lab 11. We will conclude with the decorative aspects of ceramics. Either before or after firing, decoration can be applied to ceramics or ceramic vessels in particular. In general, there are two types of decorations. On one hand, you can apply liquid materials to pots. You can apply liquid materials on all or some of a vessel surface using glazes, slips, or paints. On the other hand, you can physically and texturally modify the vessel surface using polishing techniques or piercing, incising, impressing, or corrugating. Some of these techniques, these decorating techniques, do again interconnect with the technology and the function of ceramics. First up, we will discuss glazing. This is our first example of liquid materials that are applied to pots. A glaze is a substance, usually a lead and or silica mixture or a salt-based mixture that is applied to a vessel. Typically, a liquidy layer is applied to the entire vessel surface, except for perhaps the base. There are cases of applying glaze just as decoration and not all over the whole surface of a ceramic vessel. Like here in the Rio Grande, there are glazewares where the glaze paint shows designs and doesn't cover every inch of the ceramic. During firing, the glaze, whether it's everywhere or just as a decoration, vitrifies. It turns to glass and fuses to the ceramic. It can be used as decoration. It can be used to strengthen the ceramic vessel, or glazes are often used as a form of waterproofing. Most of your dinner plates are going to be glazed because that's good for eating off of. Some glazes will crackle or craze, like in this picture on the upper right. Look out for that in your lab. There are some examples of crazing. Secondly, slips. Slips are combinations of water and clay. This mixture of clay and water is used to coat a vessel, or it can be used as paint, but typically slips are all over one or more surfaces of a vessel. Slips are usually a different color than the main vessel clay, but they can be the same color. In this case, in these examples, you can see the clay body, the paste fired more gray, but the slip is a pretty bright white. Slips can be brushed on or placed on the vessel using hands or using a rag or a sponge or a leaf. They can also craze, but you won't get the shiny, glassy appearance that you get with a glazeware. See how that looks? Shiny, glassy. This is more, less, it has no translucence at all. Oh, my next slide's very similar, but we're gonna go over painted designs. See, it switched from slips to painted designs over here in the upper left corner. Designs can be painted onto a pot using pigments made from clay, like a slip, or other minerals, usually iron oxides like hematite or magnetite. I get really excited for minerals. Designs can also be painted with organic plant-based materials that then burn off during firing, and as a result, they deposit their soot directly into the vessel surface. So that's what's happening over here on the right, for sure. The study of decorative painted styles can be very useful in ceramic analysis. That being said, we don't want to overload you, and this is already a very, very long lecture broken into 4 videos. Plus, each geographic area or culture area has unique decorative repertoires. Some keywords you might like to use to describe designs are linear, meaning it's composed of lines, or abstract, meaning the decorative design doesn't depict anything specifically or obviously. So none of these examples are obviously to my Western eyes representational. They don't represent something in the real world or in the spiritual world, as far as I know. They certainly could, but they don't depict anything in the same way as, say, a membranous pot showing a fish. You might also like to use words like geometric, meaning composed of shapes, or symmetric, or asymmetric. All right, now we're going on to we finished up decorating with liquids and we're moving on to modifying the surface texture of a vessel. First up, polishing. So on the left is a potter showing you a polished and burnished pot. The potter hasn't finished the whole surface, but part of it is very shiny. The potter used a rock to do the polishing on this vessel. So a potter might polish a vessel using a stone like this one. This can be done after slipping or without using any slip. The result is a shiny, light reflective surface, not a matte or dull surface. And the surface will be very smooth. Piercing on the right. The vessel wall has been cut all the way through. Look for holes in the pottery. You can also look for places where the cuts overcarry. Incising. With incision, the surface of the vessel is carved or cut away, but not all the way through, like with piercing. Look for cuts into the main surface level of the pottery. You may also see pilling, like on a fuzzy sweater. You'll get little bits of clay curling up. You'll get raised, crusty edges at the margins of the incised cuts because the clay is not always entirely smooth, removed. Impressing. For impressing, the surface of the vessel has been stamped or marked and exhibits textures or designs. Look for negative indentations and impressions rather than cuts. You should see the same general pattern for the extent of the impression. You can impress using a paddle with some sort of texture. One way to do that is to wrap a paddle with a textile or cordage, like we saw with the paddle and anvil slide and the examples of Japanese jomon pottery. Some pots are impressed with unwrapped cordage. A cord-marked pottery is any pottery where a cord is pressed into the clay. For cord-marked pottery, look for a reverse image of an S or Z twist cord. And finally, corrugating. Corrugated pottery has a ridged outer surface. Look for unobliterated coils with fingerprint and fingernail impressions at regular intervals. Corrugation can also be achieved with a tool, resulting in no fingerprinting. Corrugated pottery looks kind of like a shingled roof. Okay, that was a lot of information, but I know you can kill this lab now, especially if I give you a lab video to guide you through the steps of the ceramics lab. I'm so excited that you get to work with physical things and have a lot of fun with it. See you later.